African independence. Now, when you think of epic battles, you probably think of like knights and dragons, right? Well, hold on to your hats. Because Africa has its own share of incredible stories of resistance, resilience, and straight-up badassery. We're talking about battles that weren't just about land or power, but about dignity, self-determination, and the right to write your own damn narrative. These stories are full of heroes who stood up to empires, challenged the status quo, and paved the way for a freer Africa. So buckle up, because we're about to take a deep dive into the heart of some of the most pivotal battles for African independence. Get ready to learn about the struggles, the triumphs, and the legacy of these incredible movements that shaped the continent we know today. Alright folks, let's kick things off in Ethiopia, 1896. The Italians are rolling in thinking they're gonna add another feather to their colonial cap. They're looking at Ethiopia like a nice, juicy steak, ready to be carved up and devoured. But guess what? Ethiopia wasn't about to be anyone's dinner. Emperor Menelik II, the OG himself, wasn't having any of it. He rallied his troops and they said, "Nope, not today, Italy. This land is ours." And so began the Battle of Adwa. Picture this: Ethiopian forces armed with traditional weapons and a whole lot of heart, facing off against a modern, well-equipped Italian army. The odds? Stacked against them, you might say. But here's the thing about underdogs. They've got nothing to lose and everything to fight for. The Ethiopians fought like lions, strategically using the terrain to their advantage. They knew every inch of their land, and they were determined to protect it. The Battle of Adwa was a decisive victory for Ethiopia, sending shockwaves throughout the world. It was a giant middle finger to colonialism, proving that African nations could stand their ground against European powers. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to journey to Algeria, where the desert sun blazes down on a struggle for freedom. From 1954 to 1962, the Algerian people waged a fierce war against French colonial rule. But even under the oppressive weight of colonialism, the spirit of resistance flickered. In 1954, the National Liberation Front launched attacks, marking the beginning of a brutal conflict. The Algerian War wasn't fought on open battlefields. It was a war of shadows and whispers. The FLN, masters of guerrilla warfare, used their knowledge of the land to their advantage. Despite immense costs, the dream of a free and independent Algeria fueled their fight. Chapter 3. The Battle of Quito-Quanavale, turning the tide against apartheid. In 1987, Quito-Quanavale became the stage for a pivotal battle in southern Africa. Angola, recently independent, was caught in the Cold War crossfire. The MPLA, backed by Cuba and the Soviet Union, fought UNITA, supported by South Africa and the US. South Africa, with its apartheid regime, was a major player. The Battle of Quito-Quanavale was a clash of titans, drawing in troops from multiple nations. Angolan and Cuban forces held their ground against the South African onslaught. This battle was a turning point, exposing South Africa's weaknesses and pushing them to negotiate. Chapter 4. The Namibian Liberation War, a long walk to freedom in the land of the brave. Let's journey to Namibia, a land of stunning landscapes and resilient people. Namibia suffered under South African apartheid, denying basic rights to the black majority. The spirit of resistance led to a liberation struggle lasting over 2 decades. SWAPO emerged as the leading force, aiming to liberate Namibia and establish an independent nation. PLAN launched its first attack on August 26, 1966, marking the start of the armed struggle. The South African response was swift and brutal. In 1988, the New York Accords were signed, leading to Namibia's independence on March 21, 1990. Chapter 5. The Struggle Against Apartheid in South Africa, a Rainbow Nation Rises. We've arrived at our final destination, South Africa. A decades-long struggle against apartheid, a nation divided by skin color. The white minority enforced brutal racial segregation. But the human spirit refused to be extinguished. Icons like Mandela, Sisulu, and Tambo led the fight. The ANC became the vanguard of the movement. They formed Umkhonto we Sizwe to challenge apartheid. Finally, in 1994, South Africa held its first democratic elections, and Mandela walked free to lead his people into a new era. Outro: the legacy of African liberation. So there you have it, folks. A glimpse into some of the most defining battles for African independence. From the deserts of Algeria to the plains of South Africa, These stories are a testament to the courage, resilience, and unwavering spirit of the African people. These battles were about more than just land or power. They were about dignity, self-determination, and the right to chart your own destiny. They were about challenging the status quo, dismantling oppressive systems, and creating a more just and equitable world. The legacy of these struggles lives on today, inspiring future generations to fight for what they believe in and to never give up hope for a better tomorrow.